last week, March 16th. Memorandum giving you an update on the status of our review of development proposals from several business entities that had voiced an interest in aviation-compatible uses, but that were not pure aviation uses. If you'll recall, Council had designated myself, the City Attorney, Councilmember Moore, and Fred Watts as the airport manager to take lead in reviewing the qualifications of those individual companies. It is my recommendation to you that we proceed under the following process, and it is outlined in my transmittal to you, that the four of us as representatives of the city complete a comprehensive review of the developer qualifications. What is their background, what are their proposal from a perspective of management and capability to complete a project, that we structure presentations for the public to hear from each of those groups by utilizing the Airport Advisory Board as the sounding board for that, given their role and responsibilities under the city ordinance and as advisors to council. And that would allow then City Council ultimately to confirm a ranking or selection of a single corporation who we would work with, and in effect determining that they were the most qualified and appeared to be most consistent with the vision articulated in our comprehensive plan and our master plan and in through your strategic planning sessions to develop a plan in concert with the community through a public charrette process. That is distinguished from the process previously where we put it out to bid and we had basically developers present 3 or 4 competing development proposals. The thought is that if we, in effect, take control of the design process, find a developer who has the capabilities to manage the project, look at the economics of it, and actually construct it, our main goal is representing the city and community's interest to make sure that the design meets compatibility not only with the airport but also with the community. And that process would allow us to undergo that work. I don't know whether or not all of the developers would be willing to subject themselves to that process. Several of them have already spent time to design a project that they'd like to see built on the airport. But I think it's more appropriate to pause and provide an opportunity for the public to become involved through that formal charrette process in the ultimate design that may be included in any redevelopment or use of vacant airport properties. Open for questions on that.
Judge Moore, I don't really have a question of Marty. I'm very comfortable with this process at this point in time. I guess my question would be to the other members of council in light of recent editorial comment on this topic recently, whether or not you're comfortable with this process.
I'm very comfortable with the process. As a matter of fact, Marty misunderstood one of my emails, and he thought I was saying that more people should be from the council and from the board should be involved in it. I said, hey, wait a minute, no. We got enough folks now. I have full confidence that you folks will do a good job.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Wilson.
One of the advantages of that is there's less chance of like what we went through before where people just brought us stuff to look at that was totally opposite of what we were asking for, you know. So if we have a way of you know, getting through that and seeing what comes and gets presented as something that makes more sense and is what we're looking for before we go through that process. Because we sat there before where we saw people came in and wanted to do something and it was like, but that's not what we asked for, you know. So I think you have a much better chance of not having that happen again.
I think we need a way to be very open about this. I'm getting emails, as you saw, where we're all being accused of being a bunch of crooks by hiding things about going to go on at the airport. And I responded with a very nasty email, too, which was probably inappropriate. It wasn't that nasty. They said we don't like to be called crooks. But there's a suspicion out there that something fishy's going on at the airport. There's already been a deal cut with a hotel chain. There's already got a deal going to build a marina, and we're not telling anybody about it. And me particularly, I've been accused by email of having privy to all this. I haven't got privy to anything that's going on out there, really. I'm aware only that you have letters of interest. And frankly, I don't want to get into this thing too deeply before they've been massaged. And I'm very happy that this committee's going to massage them and eliminate some of the potential folks that have come up with some ideas that we would have to wrestle with as a group and present a massaged list to us and maybe even a recommendation to us. I'm very happy with that. But I am concerned about the sense out there, particularly in one particular community, stimulated, I think, by one individual very successfully, that there's something crooked going out there at the airport. And we're all privy to that, and we're not telling anybody about it. So my suggestion is just be as open as we can be, and any documents are available to anybody.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add, one of the things that Mr. Watts has completed is a summary sheet of each of the developer proposals, and you'll have copies of those outlining on a single sheet of paper, because we realize that 5 or 6 pages of documents is difficult sometimes to go through, but highlighting the name of the company, what are their proposed acreages for development if that was specified, if there was any details on any lease terms that may have been included in their proposals, and what was the range of the uses that were proposed, because I think that's critical in trying to determine how well these individual corporations and companies understand the nature of the city, and evaluating them, determining whether or not they've anticipated how we're likely to respond. I mean, Mr. Wilson's comments about the prior groups where we had proposed gated communities between the runways, that was not at all in the scope of what the city had requested, and each of the developers had included that in their proposal. On the other hand, it's been clear that council has included as part of its strategic objectives and plans and charges to administration to incorporate it at the airport additional access for boating facilities at the airport. So how well have the groups understood that needs to be part of what is included from a public access perspective? It's not a private marina. There needs to be components that provide for launching and other facilities that are open to the property owners and citizens of the city.
I think the team that's been selected is the best we got. Everybody, I think the views that will be brought to it are good. They will be deliberative, and I think it's a great team.